My friend caught my girlfriend cheating on me. I took revenge and she gets stuck with all the bills. I met my ex when we were both enrolled in a career training program. After finishing the program's classes, we moved into a studio apartment and began hunting for jobs. After roughly 6 months of looking for work, I was able to secure a position at a manufacturing. In addition, I was delivering Chinese cuisine for a nearby restaurant. She couldn't find work, so I ended up paying and taking care of everything for her since she also had a medical issue. A year and a half later, I returned to work and am promoted to a new position. I'm still working 12-hour hours at the factory, but it's now a lot more money and I'm doing much better financially. That's when we get married, and then we moved to a larger house on the other side of town. I eventually resigned the Chinese food job, but my eldest sister, OS, had a flooring firm and required mine and my closest friend's assistance. We may refer to him as BF. So, after getting paid from the factory, I need a normal routine of getting my check cashed, getting groceries, paying what bills needed to be paid, driving back to the house, and then waiting for a friend to call me so we can hang out for a little bit before I went to sleep and did it all over again. When we had to go to work, BF would sometimes remain at my place, and he would sometimes leave things there and have to come back for them. That will come into play in a moment. After I finish all of my errands, another buddy of mine phones to inform me that BF is coming to meet me at his place. He has something vital to convey to me. We may refer to him as AF. So, I go over to his place, and while I'm waiting for BF to arrive, AF says he has something very important to tell me, but he won't tell me what it is. When BF arrives, he orders me to come outside and get in the vehicle. I asked him what he wanted to tell me, but he won't tell me until I'm in the vehicle. So I go in, and I hear the door lock, so I turn over and casually, with my finger, I switch the latch back open and he doesn't even notice. BF turns around and adds, "I went to your place last night to fetch my phone charger and saw a shadow go across your living room curtains into your bedroom." What do you mean? BF, I'm not joking, man. I saw a man in your home. He was standing in your bedroom in his boxers. When I got over, X was on her knees answering the door, and I saw this guy's clothing on the floor next to the sofa. My thoughts was just filled with fury. I grabbed the door handle and opened it. He couldn't believe it wasn't locked, ran out, and hopped in my vehicle. I pulled down my window and suggested that you accompany me. I returned home and saw her asleep. I ripped the hose off her sleep apnea machine and startled her awake. Me. This is one of those situations when you'd best tell me the truth. Who in the world was here last night? X. This is just a buddy of mine. Me. Are you a man? X. He came over when we were watching TV. Me. What's the deal with BF telling me he was in his boxers in our bedroom? I stepped out, grabbed the phone, and dialed BF number. He remained at AF home. Please forgive me for not remembering every aspect of the talk, but this was 12 years ago. I put him on speaker, and we were all fussing over it, and she told him something last night that she couldn't tell me. I hung up after finishing my conversation with BF and convincing him that I wasn't planning to murder her. She was weeping and attempting to persuade me that nothing had occurred. X. Believe me, honey, there was no action. Me. What exactly did you say to him? X. I explained to him that he was just flirting with me. I did not purchase it, so I decided to sleep on it till I figured out what I was going to do next. I awoke that afternoon and pretended to trust her. That night, I went to work, and the next weekend, I was heading to Connecticut to work for my OS again. Because BF was unable to attend, I dropped by his house on my way home from Connecticut. BF. Hey, what's up, man? Me. What was it about which she couldn't tell me? BF. She informed me she's already been fooling with him. I could feel my heart tearing apart, and then the wrath returned. Okay then. We're going to record her saying that. BF. No, I'm not going to do that. Me. This is what you're doing, you apprehended her. You're going to do this for me now. He didn't want to, but he consented. I hung around with him for a few hours before heading home. When I arrived, the whole home was spotless and some of the furniture had been rearranged. She'd never done anything like this before, so I knew she was attempting to convince me she was innocent. I pretended to be pleased but didn't really care. We went to BF Place the following day. We spoke for almost an hour while she was in the other room. BF said he had an old smartphone that he could use to acquire the recording. I told her I needed to buy some beverages from the shop and that I'd be right back. I was driving to the supermarket when he got her talking about it. I returned after approximately 10 minutes. He was holding the phone in the kitchen. I took it to the restroom and listened to the tape. A lot of the tape was difficult to understand, but at the conclusion I heard this, BF, but you told me you played with him. For example, I was heading to. That's all I needed to know. My vengeance would be mine. Here comes the retaliation. This is when I phoned my OS, followed by my middle sister, MS. I informed them of the situation. OS had previously gone through a divorce and started researching the procedure for obtaining one. I informed my manager at the factory of the situation and informed him that I may need to take a few days off to complete the tasks at hand. He understood since many individuals who work at night are subjected to this. OS and I meet outside of Boston to file at the Cambridge courthouse. I tell the clerk that any more documents should be delivered to OS Place, so X isn't aware of it. They didn't have an issue with it and informed me she'd be served with the papers in a month. I then persuaded her to hand the vehicle title over to my OS so that we could save money on insurance. I paid for the automobile, the insurance, and everything else associated with it, thus it is mine. She was hesitant at first, but I persuaded her that it would be better for us. I also began to treat her as if she were trash. She'd attempt to speak to me, and I'd behave as if nothing she said mattered. I startled her awake one morning by removing the hose from her machine and in it. We were still intimate, but I gave her the respect she deserved. She was still unsure about what was going to happen next. My OS had the automobile title re-registered in her name in New Hampshire and the plates ready. On Saturday morning, BF and I were working for her and had everything planned out. I spent the remainder of the day at BF Place until about 10 p.m. when I headed home. I told her we needed to get some sleep since OS and MS were both coming to see us at 9 a.m. I awoke the following morning and prodded her awake. I got out of bed and took a shower. I washed my teeth and put on my clothes. I exited the restroom and entered the bedroom. She was still in her bed. For example, why are OS and MS arriving so early? Me. Oh, they're on their way to aid me. At the time, I began removing all of my clothing from the closet and storing them in boxes and bags. What are you doing, for example? Me. How does it appear? I'm going to leave you. For example. What? Why? Me. And here's why. I go into my jacket pocket and bring out an ancient smartphone, which I play for her. She is taken aback when she overhears the exchange. For example. What was that? Me. You know exactly what it was. You made a commitment to me and then broke it. It's all over now. I've already filed for divorce, and they'll be there today to serve you. X. My mother warned me that you may do anything like that. Me. Maybe you'll listen to her the next time. X. What about all of the lovemaking we've been doing all these time? What do you think? X. You took advantage of me. Me. Oh, exactly like you've been doing to me for the previous 4 years. She jumps up, grabs the phone, and dials her mother's number. She begins sobbing into the phone as she speaks to her. Meanwhile, I take out my smartphone and begin phoning the landlord to inform him that I have paid 3 months of our 6-month lease and that he may go after her for the remaining months. And then I call the electric company and instruct them to turn off the electricity at the location tomorrow. Her name was on the cable, gas, and vehicle insurance policies. My sister placed the automobile on her insurance once it was re-registered in New Hampshire, and I paid her. I immediately took the phone from her and told her mother that I was done with the little cheater. I returned to the bedroom about that time and discovered her wedding band and engagement ring on the dresser. Me. You're not going to retain your engagement ring. For example, why should I? You're going to leave me. Me. Okay, I'll grab a few dollars from them at the pawn shop. Around that moment, OS and MS arrive, accompanied by a local police officer. The officer observes as we load all of my belongings into OS truck and I change the license plates on my vehicle. We load both cars as OS and MS discuss the situation. After we got everything, I wanted to snap photos of the apartment and her to prove that I didn't punch her or become aggressive and destroy the place. She was that kind of person who would cry wolf for attention. OS, okay, X, we have all the images we need of you and your apartment, so you can't say he beat you up. Me, and your license plates are in the kitchen, and you can keep the bed because I'm getting a new one. For example, what am I going to do with it? MS, why don't you hand it over to your sidekick? Laughter, that's a terrific concept. So I moved out and over to my boyfriend's home until I could afford another apartment of my own, which took around 3 months. We were formally divorced 3 months later, and she did not seek alimony. She ended up staying with her mother for a bit, but I heard she began sleeping with her mother's boyfriend. Disgusting. As for me, I took it as a lesson to never rush into something until you are very certain it is worth it.